Call the meeting to order. Please stand for the pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Me too.
Okay. So this evening, we're starting off with a few public hearings, the first of which we opened up last meeting in February, and we held it open at that time. So I would like to continue that public hearing at this time, and if I could have a motion to reopen the public hearing on the local law for temporary suspension of building.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. So, last time, our attorney explained it in depth. I don't see a need to repeat that unless someone has questions. And our attorney can help answer the questions at that time if needed. We held it open for the purpose of accepting changes or making changes in the meantime, and I have not received any new information that would merit a change in our proposed local law. Any board members have any questions or
I
issues?
would point out, though, that the proposal after that first public hearing was changed to a 6-month moratorium, and that's what's currently on the floor. Not-
Okay.
Was the original one 2 years? 18 months.
No, I think it was
18 months.
18 months.
It followed the agreement. We're hopeful, so this new one is 6 months.
6 months with the possibility
There's
for
always a
extensions.
possibility to extend.
Right.
But we redrafted it to be 6 months, and you've had that for a while already.
Yes, yes. Thank you. Any other board members' questions? No. Any members of the public, questions, comments? No? You're sure? Okay. All right, with that, I would like to have a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Okay,
Second?
moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. The next local law that we're holding a public hearing on is on the tax cap, piercing the 2% tax cap. It's required that we have this public hearing and pass a local law in the event that our budget requires our piercing the tax cap. We have yet to establish that. So I need a motion to open that public hearing.
Motion to open.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Our tech guy, okay.
A second.
Okay, motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Does anyone have any comments or questions, board members or public, about the possibility? This doesn't mean that we are piercing the tax cap. That it means we are able to if needed. Okay. No one has any questions. I need a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. This is going well. The next public hearing is to change the residency requirements for the village justice. Let's open the public hearing first, and then I can explain.
So moved. Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
So currently, our village justice is coming up for re-election next year, a year from now. Well, year and a few months from now, I should say. Currently, the residency requirement is within the village of West Hampton Beach only. We have contacted NICOM and the state and attorneys, and we are able to change the residency requirement with a simple resolution. They recommended a code change if we choose to change that, because that tends to be more permanent, more accessible, or whatever. Since we have a population of less than 3,000 officially, we are able to do it by resolution or code change. In consideration of the fact that our courts have exponentially expanded in their activity, because I think our community has expanded in activity. We had one court session in which there were over 300 cases scheduled, and that's a huge burden on our justices, our court clerks, the police department. It is just too much for one court case. So I don't anticipate the increased activity it may level out, but I don't think it's going to go down to what it was several years ago, where one justice could serve the community. So in the meantime, this kind of gets complicated. Our current judge has appointed our associate judge to add an additional court date calendar. So we're implementing that to alleviate the crowded condition. And that's starting this month. So we will have additional court calendar dates to accommodate the increased number of cases. When it comes time to elect a village justice, I think it should be considered to expand the residency requirement. By law, we can either have a residency requirement of just within the village of West Hampton Beach, or open it up to a resident of Suffolk County. We cannot go to just a resident of the town. We were hoping to be able to do that, but we cannot do that. So because we have a small population, a limited number of people that may be interested and or qualified to be a village justice, we are considering opening up the residency requirement for village justice. So any board member have any further comments or questions, or want to help me out here?
I think it's necessary.
I think it's necessary to make it.
Yes, it
Why
absolutely
not?
is.
I mean, it's actually a good thing to have it in place, ready to go, so we don't have to go through this, so.
I was hoping to open it up to the town
Yes.
instead of the county. But we're still looking into how that would be possible.
And it
Yeah.
doesn't look good at this point. That would be, I think we agree that would be the best option, but if it doesn't exist, it doesn't exist, so. Any other members of the public have anything to say? Okay. Okay. I think we are able to close the public hearing at this point. There is no resolution on the agenda for this evening, but we can follow up with a resolution in a following meeting.
Yep.
Okay, so motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The next public hearing is again dealing with the justice situation. Again, let's have a motion to open the public hearing.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. As I said in our previous public hearing, our current justice is appointing our associate or acting justice a court case. Another option for the village, and again, because we have a population of less than 3,000 people officially, we are able to have two justices on the ballot. They would be at 4-year terms and alternating terms. So if we were to put a justice position on the ballot, say this election rotation would be for a 3-year term, I believe, rather than a 4-year term, so the terms alternate. I would have to figure that out. But so we would have every 2 years a different justice position opening up. And that is a consideration. The other option for the board is to continue with what we've instituted at this point, having an annual appointment by the board of an associate justice and the judge assigning that associate justice or assistant justice a court calendar date. All things going well, I would think that would work well for us. But the second justice on the ballot is a consideration. So any board members, comments, questions? I think the annual appointment is more advantageous at this point. And we could look again to having a second justice elected later if that's not working at some point, but,
Yeah, I think, depending on who the judge is,
Right.
like, you know,
right, as long as they're willing to
They-
do that.
right, if a new judge is elected at some point down the road and it's not, you know, they have their own way of doing things, they might not want just 1 day a week. They might say, okay, well, court's gonna be 3 days a week, and then you might not need a second
Right.
judge, so.
Right. Well, yes, it depends on the, it's, of course, within the judge's discretion as to how many court dates they will take personally and
Right,
if
so-
they want to assign some and so on and so forth. So that could vary with the elected judge, yes. Anyone else? Any members of the public? I appreciate your participation, though. It's very good, thank you. Okay, I think we can close this public hearing as well at this point. Do we have a motion to close this public hearing?
Motion to close?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, with that being done, we'll move on to the resolutions. And Mr. Rizzo, if you would begin.
Resolved that the minutes of the Board of Trustees meetings of February 5th, 2026 and February 11th, 2026 are hereby accepted.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Resolved that the police department's building inspectors, treasurers, and justice court's February 2026 reports are hereby accepted.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
resolved that the warrants for February 2026 in the amount of $349,337.27 for the general fund and $3,533.26 for the capital fund are hereby approved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby authorize the mayor to sign an agreement with Suffolk County to purchase gas station and diesel fuel from a county-owned facility for a term of 10 years.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby authorizes the mayor to sign the agreement with Vantage Point for 2026 ACA reporting and with automatic renewal at year end at a cost not to exceed $3,000 to be paid out of GL account A1680.400 Central Data Processing Contractual.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye. Resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby authorizes the mayor to sign the 2026 contract with Accent Estates for pest management at a cost of $1,715 to be paid out of GL account A8510.405 beautification.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby authorizes the mayor to sign the fire marshal services agreement with the town of Southampton.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby accepts the resignation of TCO Brandon Bazon effective February 14th, 2026.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby accepts the resignation of DPW employee Andrew Dunham effective February 17th, 2026.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
I would like to thank Andrew for his service to the village. He was a valued employee, but found another job with Long Island Railroad, so I wish him all the very best.
Resolved that the village clerk treasurer is hereby directed to publish and post a notice of public hearing to be held on April 2nd, 2026 at 5 p.m. at the Village Hall on the 2026-2027 tentative village budget.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
resolved that the village clerk treasurer is hereby authorized to attend the New York State Governmental Finance Officers Association Conference in Albany, New York from April 14th through 17th, 2026. The cost is $263 for the conference, $500 for the hotel, $100 for travel expenses, and $300 for food to be paid out of GL account code A1325, period, 411, education and training.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolved that Board of Trustees hereby authorize the use of village property on the dates and times by organizations or groups as attached.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Whereas the village has received applications for use of outdoor tables, chairs, benches, music, and displays for 2026, and whereas after considering information supplied by the Suffolk County Department of Health Services, the Suffolk County Sewer Agency, and the village's building administrator, the Board of Trustees determined special exception permits should be issued for outdoor seating and tables and music and displays. Consideration was given where there were incidents or reports filed with the police department or changes concerning said uses. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby authorizes the placement and use of outdoor seating, tables, and outdoor music and displays as shown on the submitted plans for the attached listed establishments, subject to all revised conditions and plans on file.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Whereas the Village of West Hampton Beach owns property within the hamlet of West Hampton, Town of Southampton, which is outside the Village of West Hampton Beach boundaries, and whereas the property is located at Redfield Place off Percy Street, West Hampton, and is identified on the Suffolk County tax map as 900-354-4-19119, the subject property. And whereas the village is seeking to sell the subject property and is soliciting written bids for an all-cash sale as more fully described in the public notice attached hereto. And now therefore be it resolved, the village clerk is hereby directed to publish the attached public notice soliciting written bids for all-cash sale of an unused vacant parcel of real property owned by the village and depicted on the Suffolk County tax map as Suffolk County tax map number 900-354-04-119 in the newspaper of record. The village is authorized to pay any reasonable cost necessary to publish said notice.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby approves the proposal for surveying and engineering services from the Rayner Group for Exchange Place Road and Drainage Project at a cost not to exceed $26,500 to be paid out of GL account code A1440 for engineering and surveys.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolved that Andrew D. Rubies is hereby authorized to attend the Brookhaven National Lab Horticultural Conference, March 3rd, 2026, at a cost of $85.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Whereas this board has advertised a local law instituting piercing the 2% tax cap, and whereas a public hearing was held on March 5th, 2026, and whereas all persons present at the hearing have had an opportunity to speak on behalf of or in opposition to the proposed local law or any part thereof. Now therefore, after due deliberation, the Board of Trustees of the Village of West Hampton Beach has adopted proposed local law number 3 of 2026 as advertised, and the village clerk is directed to enter said local law in the records of the village and to give due notice of adoption of said local law to the Secretary of State.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby authorizes Officer Kelsey Sweeney to attend IACP Women's Leadership Institute course from April 6th to April 10th, 2026, to be held in Brentwood, New York, at a cost not to exceed $1,500 to be paid out of GL account code A3120.415 Training, Conventions, and Publications.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Whereas this board has advertised a local law instituting the temporary suspension of the village planning board or village staff's authority to approve site plan applications or issue building permits affecting certain parcels of land located within the Phase 1 service area as defined in Chapter 141 of the Village Code, and which is serviced by the Incorporated Village of West Hampton Beach Sewer System, the sewer system. And whereas the public hearing was held on February 5th, 2026 and March 5th, 2026, and whereas all persons present at the hearing have an opportunity to speak on behalf or in opposition to the proposed local law or any part thereof. Resolved that pursuant to the State Environmental Quality Review Act, the proposed moratorium is classified as type 2 action pursuant to 6 NYCRR section 6175 C36, adoption of moratorium on land development or construction, and it exempt from secret review. Now therefore, after due deliberation, the Board of Trustees of the Village of West Hampton Beach hereby adopts said local law as Local Law 2 of 2026 as advertised and attached, and the village clerk is directed to enter said local law in the records of the village and to give due notice of the adoption of said local law to Secretary of State.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Do we have to write 6 month, like the temporary?
That's in the
6 month?
attach, as the
Okay.
law, that's in what we will be sending to the state and what,
For the
yes, what
attachment.
we'll reference.
Okay.
Yes.
Resolved, the village clerk treasurer, is hereby directed to publish and post a notice of public hearing on Thursday, April 2nd, 2026 at 5 p.m. at the Village Hall to discuss special exception permit applications for Hampton Endoscopy, 68 Old Riverhead Road, West Hampton Beach.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolved that the 2024-2025 fiscal year annual financial statements prepared by Sadie Levine and Chaco for the Village of West Hampton Beach and Village of West Hampton Beach Justice Court are hereby accepted.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Resolved that the Board of Trustees authorizes a 2-week extension to accept Rogers Beach concession bids due to extreme weather conditions. The new due date will be March 13th, 2026.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. All right. Whereas Governor Kathy Hochul released her 30-day amendments to the executive budget, which include an additional $100 million in temporary municipal assistance to be allocated to the same manner as in the past 2 years. And whereas these additional investments reflect a recognition that New York's strength begins in its cities, villages, and towns, and that a strong state-local partnership is essential to delivering the services, infrastructure, public safety, and the quality of life that residents expect and deserve. And whereas local governments across New York continue to face mounting fiscal pressures driven by inflation, increased service demands, infrastructure needs, and rising operational costs, while striving to provide relief to taxpayers amid a rising cost of living. And whereas NICOM Executive Director Barbara Van Epps, along with mayors from across the state, testified at the local government joint budget hearing in Albany, advocating for increased unrestricted aid and strengthened state-local partnership. And whereas the additional $100 million in TMA will offer meaningful assistance to many municipalities statewide, helping to address fiscal challenges and maintain essential services for residents. Now, therefore, may be it resolved that the Village of West Hampton Beach applauds Governor Hochul for recognizing the importance of investing in local governments and for reaffirming her commitment to strengthening New York's cities and villages. Be it further resolved that the Village of West Hampton Beach urges New York State Legislature to include at a minimum this additional $100 million in temporary municipal assistance in the adopted state budget. And be it further resolved that the Village of West Hampton Beach calls upon Governor and the state legislator to develop a more permanent and predictable solution for unrestricted municipal aid to ensure long-term fiscal stability for New York's local governments. And be it further resolved that the copies of this resolution be transmitted to the governor, the temporary president of the Senate, the Speaker of the Assembly, and the members of the state legislature representing the Village of West Hampton Beach.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of West Hampton Beach that a retention and disposition schedule for New York State Local Law Records LGS-1 issued pursuant to Article 57A of the Art and Cultural Affairs Laws containing legal minimum retention period for the local government records is hereby adopted for the use of all officers in legal disposition and valueless records listed therein. Further resolved that in accordance with Article 57-A, only those records will be disposed of are described as retention and disposition schedule of New York State Local Government Records LGS1 after they have met the minimum retention period described therein. Only those records will be disposed of that do not have sufficient administrative, fiscal, legal, or historical value to merit retention beyond established legal minimum period.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Whereas the New York State requires each local government to designate a records management officer to coordinate a records management program, and whereas the Village of West Hampton Beach recognizes the importance of maintaining, managing, and disposing of records in accordance with the LGS 1. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of West Hampton Beach hereby appoints Denise Mordente, Village Clerk, Treasurer, as the Records Management Officer, RMO, for the Village of West Hampton Beach.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And I would like to thank Denise for doing this.
Taking that
This
job.
is in support of a grant application that this is all being done. So we're applying for a grant as well, and it helps our chances of getting the grant if this is in place. So thank you.
Thank you.
This brings us to the public comment section. Any members of the public wish to speak or have a question or a comment? No? Okay.
Sure.
Are you sure? All right. We do have an executive session, so I need a motion to adjourn our regular meeting and go into executive session. It's to deal with personnel contractual issues.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Appreciate it.